Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about preparing for an industry standard exam. I focus on remote because I'm kind of far away from a testing center, and I also think that's where people have a lot of the most stress, I guess. Um, but there's still a lot of this is still valid if you're taking it at a testing center. So let's go. First, I want to talk a little bit about why I think that I am qualified to talk about this. So, um, I show here on LinkedIn, I have 34 licenses and certifications. Now, some of these have expired, not many, but they're from different organizations: CompTIA, EC Council, ISC Squared, JIAC. My Amazon and Red Hat have expired. I need to get around to re-upping at least my Amazon. Um, so anyway, I've done a lot of these. So I'm hoping that some of the information that I have will be helpful to you. Now, something else I'm going to link down. Well, I take a step back. So I'm hoping that my knowledge and understanding that I've gained can help you. So the first thing is you probably need to choose the right exam for you. Once you choose the right exam, get the exam objectives early on and know what you need to study. I'll try and link some video references down below, but choosing the right exam is hard. So there are a few things that I take students to help them identify what the right exam might be. And one of them is the DoD has this qualification matrix. This is this is the public version, not the classified. So tab A has certifications and work titles, as well as like the proficiency, basic, advanced, intermediate type stuff. And oftentimes when I'm talking to someone that's interested in certifications, I instead of talking about certifications, I say, what job do you want to do? So I've created a pivot table that takes tab A and says, here's the job and here are the certifications that match that job. Now, there's proficiencies, and I usually don't care that much about those because most of the people I'm talking to are just trying to get started. So any proficiency would be fine. But you can see here that this is a great way of looking at, hey, if I want to be a cyber defense incident responder, look at all these certifications I can get. And then from here, you can start to look at what can these certifications, because all you need is one. You don't need all of them, you just need one. What else can these certifications help me? And that kind of plays into the next one. So I'm going to have you pause that thought and also take it, if you don't know what job you want to do, you can actually look at the certifications and the jobs. So this is, I made a by cert, just another pivot table, certification and the jobs that they can do. So that way you can look at it and say, well, I don't know what I want to do, but hey, this certification can do all of these, and I'm interested in a couple of those, so I think I'll get this certification. Or hey, this certificate, I like these, so maybe I'll get this one. So I would steer people towards ones that can do a lot, right? Because it gives them flexibility if you can do a lot. Now, taking a step back, if you know what you want to do, and there are a lot that can do it, then maybe pick one of them that can do a lot. So we just saw Cloud Plus and CYSA. If you look here, CYSA can do a lot, and the cool thing about the CYSA is it can do basically all of the levels from intermediate to, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. You have Cloud Plus that can also do a lot, but they're almost all intermediate. So I'm pretty sure they are. So you can look at the different options and choose the best certification for you. Now, if you have no clue what certification you want still, you can also just look at, hey, how many jobs and proficiency levels can this different certification get me? And you can look at some of the top ones. So the CCE and the CYSA are really high. GCSA is really high. GSEC 54. Wow, that's crazy. So that one would probably be one of the best ones. It's probably also one of the hardest ones. So looking at just the number is a way to get you started. Okay. Now, that can start you down the path, but I also like this roadmap from CompTIA. Once again, I'm going to link to all this down below. In fact, the qualification matrix I just did, I'm putting in GitHub so that you can get it with my pivot tables. So the this roadmap, I really like this because it talks about, hey, these are beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert. This is according to CompTIA, but it has CompTIA's, and they highlight theirs, of course, but it has others as well. And I started down my CompTIA journey because I didn't have any of them, and I only had basically expert type ones. Expert or advanced, I can't remember. I think most of mine are expert. So I was taking a step back to see what I could help to get people I were mentoring started. And so I needed to do the beginner, intermediate, and some of the advanced ones. So there's a few things I really like about this. It has the tracks. So if you're interested in information technology, that's cybersecurity and cloud. Okay, those are the top two. If you're interested in business and managing, that's IT service management. If you're interested in information sciences, that's data and AI. If you're interested in computer science, that's software development. Okay, so it has these different tracks or pillars. And then we come down here further, and here we can see all the different certification bodies that they have referenced up above. So of course they've referenced themselves, but they also have Amazon Web Services. They have JIAC, EC Council, Google. They have ISC Squared, ITIL, Linux Foundation, Linux Professional Institute, Microsoft, VMware. They have all sorts of great organizations, and their certifications listed up here in the different tracks of a career. So if you're going to be in cybersecurity, here's a good track. Infrastructure and cloud, here's a good track. So IT service management. So this is a different way of looking at it. Now, one of the things that CompTIA does that help get you addicted to their certifications is they give you stackable ones. So these are stackable. Basically, if you do A+ and Network Plus, then you get this CompTIA IT Operations Specialist. A+ and Linux Plus, you get this one. And so it's just a little extra nuggets that you get. And they've been adding some, the expert ones. So cool. So just lots of options. So, and I have the DoD 8140. I'll link to all this down below. Okay. Choosing the right exam, right certification for you is important. This is for you. Once you choose it, you need to set a study plan. Be realistic in what you can accomplish. Don't think you can go from I don't know anything to the hardest certification and quickly. You might want to choose a certification that's more achievable too, so you don't get too down on yourself. It's good to have a win and to be excited about things. Push yourself, just not too hard. Make sure you're targeting the right level of the test. And then figure out how long you need to study for it. You might need days, weeks, or months. Hopefully not years. If you need years, you're probably choosing the wrong certification to start. Make a goal and stick to it. So it can be as simple as, hey, I'm going to spend 2 hours a night, 3 days a week, and get it in a schedule, but stick to it. Consider taking a sample test early. You might be surprised. You might know more than you expect or less. So it's good to see how close you are. When it comes to study materials, you need to know that most of these exams require you to sign a non-disclosure agreement during the beginning of starting the exam. This is to keep the exam integrity intact. And when people are studying for the exam, you often like to take sample tests, and those are fine. What's not okay is exam dumps. Exam dumps is when people violate the non-disclosure agreement and they try and give you the actual questions that are on the exam. In doing that, they're hurting the integrity of the exam. They're helping people study just for the questions that are involved and not the total body of knowledge. That's a problem, and it can get your certification yanked if you help dump or if you even use an exam dump. So I don't use exam dumps. I have heard from people that have used them and they've said that oftentimes the answers are wrong anyway. Doesn't matter. Don't use them. Don't help participate in them. It's against the ethics of the tests. So you also need to understand with years of experience, is it a suggestion? Is it optional, or is it required? So some of them that have it required would be ISC squared. They like to require years of experience. You have to pay a fee so that they can do kind of a background check on your years of experience, and you have to give proof that you have years of experience in the categories that you're working on. Test your system if you're going to do remote. ISC squared doesn't allow remote tests, but CompTIA does, AWS does. So test your system, make sure it works. And sometimes it's a little harder than you would think. So consider asking others for their experiences, but remember that NDA. Don't push people to break that NDA. With testing your system, there's a few things that I've noticed leading up to the test. So sometimes I'll install patches and updates, and then I'll reboot before I test my system. I'll also do that the night before the test. If it still doesn't work, troubleshoot. We're going to cover some of that in a slide coming up. So the night before, get a good night's sleep. The day before. This can be hard for some of us. Do what you need to get a good night's sleep. You can do it, but you might be stressed. You might be do what you can to relax and get a good night's sleep. It'll help you, trust me. Problems happen, so stay calm and troubleshoot them. Network speed and firewall settings is one that I've seen a lot. This goes back to I talked about installing updates. So if you have updates that have installed but you haven't rebooted, I've seen an error like this happen. So the network speed or the firewall settings aren't correct. Consider rebooting your system and seeing if that works. If that doesn't work, maybe tell your housemates to stop streaming so many movies for a few hours. Maybe pay them to go to the movies, get them out of your hair. That's a good thing to do the night before as well. Buy them movie tickets, get them away. Maybe you need to run a wire from your router to your device. I do have a long one that I've used on occasion. Consider having someone's laptop that you can borrow in case yours doesn't work. I've had to do that. With that, there's a problem because they do mention that you shouldn't be using a laptop or a device that someone else has used. So just keep that mindful. That's something I recently noticed. Know how to kill running processes. There's certain processes they definitely don't like. Teams, Zoom, there's some gaming services. make sure that they're killed. They don't like you running from a USB device either, so you're not supposed to have a USB drive attached. Task Manager is your friend. Make sure you know how to use Task Manager in Windows. Mac, it's kill. I think there's a Task Manager type thing too. I just like the command line. If you can't find the process, it's possible that it's because someone else is logged into the system and the process is running under them. So make sure you just log everyone else out. Don't worry, you can do this. Worrying and stressing too much can, I think that's one of the biggest problems people have during taking their first test, just too much stress. Make sure you have the proper ID. So most of them, they require government ID with a signature and a photo. A passport's one of the best things you can have. Driver's license is second, or a type of ID like that. But a passport, that's what I strongly encourage most people to bring. It doesn't have to be from the USA. Now, there might be some countries that are sanctioned in a way that could be a problem. I don't know. The main issue I've seen with people with ID is having an ID that's expired, or when they lose their ID, and so they come without an ID. That's the biggest problem I've seen when it comes to proper ID. As long as you have a good government ID, that should be fine. And then a proper space. It's best just to have nothing around. So put up a sign, create roadblocks. I use chairs, I use laundry baskets, whatever you need to help keep your office and housemates at bay. So let me give you some examples of space. So my office, of course, I have a monitor and things like that they don't like. So I just cover it up, actually with the same green screen I'm using in the background right now. And yeah, keeping it, just covering things up and then having enough space that they won't get cranky with you. I cover up my bookcases, and I put a sign on my door. I often put a chair in front of my door so that people will not knock or anything, just keeping everyone at bay. The sign talks about I'm taking a test, leave me alone. And hey, you can even see the Trader Joe's chocolate I have to help me de-stress, right? Preparing my house space. So I have this nice little hallway leading outside from my bedroom. So I let the people in my house know that I'm taking a test. I put up a sign sometimes. I lock my door coming to my room, and this one that goes outside. They're both locked. Even then, I put a chair or something in front of it, or a laundry basket, to just add it so that people won't even knock. And then I start to set up my area. So you see this little, it's a very small hallway. And I take 2 bar stools. I put a piece of wood across them. I put a tablecloth on that. I use a shower rod curtain. And I take that and I make my hallway smaller. And then I'm basically set up and good to go. And that's my house setup so that I can take my exam. So just before the test, remind people, do not disturb, let them know it's serious, put up a sign, set up roadblocks, maybe get them out of the house, pay for them to go to the movies or something. Bio break. You're going to be busy for hours, so eat and drink lightly before it. Also, you're not allowed to have food during the exam or water. So just make sure you're well prepared to not have to do anything for a couple hours. There are some exams that let you eat and drink, but those are the ones that are multiple days. I haven't done those yet. Final last minute notes, go through them right before the test and de-stress. Happy place. Find your happy place. Take a deep breath. Get comfortable, relax. Maybe watch a video about the beach, whatever you need. During the exam, stay focused. Taking an exam can be mentally and physically taxing, so do what you can to remain focused and on task. Pace yourself, and feel free to move on if you don't know immediately the answer. You can always come back to it. So sometimes what you're fighting with is time. I've heard a lot of people online talking about how they got stuck with some performance-based questions and they spent way too much time on those and didn't have enough time for everything else. If that's you, just flag the performance-based questions. Don't even start them. Come back to them at the end. So stay focused. Use the tools. So most exam platforms have a way to flag questions to say, I need to come back to this. Use that. On top of that, you're not allowed to use pen and paper, but most of them have a notes or a whiteboard that you can use as part of the testing platform. I used this quite a bit with my last test. So last test was Project Plus from before recording this, and I'm a bit rusty. And there was a term, and I'm like, shoot, is that a real term or did they make it up? And I kept track of every question it was on, because it was on more than one. I'm not going to tell you the term, it's the NDA, but I kept track. I put the term down, I put the questions every time it came up, so that when I decided how I was going to answer it, because it was if it was real, it was my top answer for those questions. And then I went back and looked them over. And I had my note, and I knew exactly which questions had that term that I was concerned about. I also have taken notes to say, I chose this one, but this one is also valid, and here's why I'm worried about it. It's not an essay. Yeah, once again, use very little time. So write down what you can, type it out, and just keep it short, but enough that it'll help you. Avoid issues. Keep your eyes on the screen. Now, I think they let you look down at your keyboard. I have to do that on occasion because I'm using the mouse to do things, and if I'm typing a note, sometimes I look down. I've never had an issue with looking at my keyboard, but sometimes when I'm thinking, I look up like this. And I did that on a test, and they stopped it immediately. And they said, you do that again, and we're going to cancel your test. And they said, okay. Well, I said okay, and they said, if you need to do something like that to think, close your eyes. So I closed my eyes for that test. And I've done that ever since. Don't have electronic devices. I remember taking a test. I'm usually really good at removing all my electronic devices. I have a smartwatch. I went like this as I was thinking, and they stopped my test. I'm like, what? And they're like, we see you have a watch. So I took my watch off, threw it. They had me show where I'd thrown it. Luckily, they didn't cancel my test. They just made me throw my watch. Silence your cell phone if it's going to bug you. Even if it's not going to bug you, it's probably good to silence it. My phone goes off too often sometimes. And so I remember having one of the proctors joining and saying, do you want to turn off your cell phone? I'm like, no, I'll just ignore it. But probably every time it was going off, it probably flashed my screen to them to say, hey, something weird's going on, check out this person. I don't know how their screens work, but I assume that they have some technology that brings to focus ones that they should pay more attention to. So consider silencing your cell phone, if not for you, for your proctor. Unplug any smart speakers that you have really close by so that they don't start notifying you of things and make your proctor think someone's in the room. And realize that life happens. If something happens, your tests get interrupted for whatever reason, take a deep breath. Try and figure it out, figure out the next steps. Sometimes your test might get canceled. Maybe your network connection gets severed for too long. Maybe your power goes out. Whatever it is, life happens. Sometimes they'll let you reschedule right away. Other times they don't let you reschedule. And you can ask for it to be reviewed, and you may or may not be allowed to reschedule in a couple days, or they might make you pay for it again. So, but life happens. So just prepare yourself. No matter what the results, celebrate doing something hard. You've, just by starting, have done something that a lot of people don't even try to do. It's stressful. It can be mentally and physically tasking. So just reward yourself. Oftentimes, at the end of the test, there's a preliminary screen that says, congratulations, or something else, if you didn't pass, and then tells you how many points you scored and how many were needed. And so you usually know, not always, you usually know if you've passed or you're not. No matter what, go do something fun. Maybe eat ice cream, go out to eat, go for a walk on the beach, go to a park, do something fun. You deserve it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this will help you. And I'll link to quite a few things down below. So have a good one. We'll see you in the next video.